Our story opens today on the campus of a large Minnesota college, the University of Wossamotta. Inside the administration building, an important meeting is taking place.
I don't want to alarm you, gentlemen, but it looks like disaster for what's the matter you.
Well,
What's a disaster?
What do you mean?
My good disaster.
What did he say?
The chancellor said we're facing disaster.
Sing what?
Disaster.
I don't know the words. How about Camptown races instead?
Gentlemen, unless we do something quickly, we will meet our doom.
What did he say?
Doom, doom, doom.
The Camptown lady sing this song, a-doo-dah, doo-dah.
Please, this is no time for levity. Our enrollment has dropped 80%, our buildings are crumbling away, and what's even worse,
Yes.
they're taking the Coke machine out of the faculty lounge.
Oh, horror. But why? Why?
The answer is simple, gentlemen. What does every successful university have that we don't have?
Well-heeled alumni?
Electric light?
The address of the Ford Foundation?
No, a successful football team.
Do we even have a football team?
Yes, Wossamotta U did have a team of sorts, but it hadn't scored a goal in 22 years.
And it's time we did.
Oh, I don't know. Seems a shame to spoil a perfect record like that.
But Coach Rocky Canute had something to say about that.
I move we get the best football team money can buy.
Here. But how will we pay for it?
How else? We'll fire a few English teachers. Yeah, who needs them? We all speak English already.
Some of us do, anyway.
You incinerating that I'm dumb?
That you what?
Dumb.
Going to run all night, going to run all day.
And so it was settled. 5 professors were sacked and 5 football scouts were hired.
All right, you guys, I want you to scour the city, comb the countryside, and especially beat the bushes.
Why beat the bushes?
The kind of fellas we want are probably living in them. Now, go on.
The scouts sought high and low for candidates for football glory. They poked into every nook and cranny in the state. A couple of them even went further than that. They got completely lost and as a result wound up in Frostbite Falls, where as fate would have it, Rocket Squirrel chose that moment to say...
Gosh, Bullwinkle, I'm making a salami souffle and I'm all out of wiffle powder.
Gad, this is fraught with portent.
What's fraught with portent?
This picture, see? There's Eddie Fraught and George Portent. Nice fellers.
Bullwinkle, I gotta get down to the store and back before the salami souffle flops.
Stop snuffling and speak up.
Well, give me a hand, Bullwinkle.
Delighted.
Hurry!
Oop!
And propelled by mighty moose muscle, Rocky flashed clear to town, into the grocery store, and back before you could say Jack Robinson.
Jack Robin!
Here I am!
By golly, I couldn't at that.
Of course, all this hadn't gone unnoticed.
You know what this means, Chauncey?
Certainly, a fluffy souffle.
No, it means we found the football sensation of the year.
I think he's too furry for a football. And that tail.
Not the squirrel, the moose.
He's the wrong shape for a football.
But he's the right shape for a passer. Come on.
And the 2 scouts dashed into Bullwinkle, pen in hand.
Sign here, fella.
It's a college scholarship.
A scholarship?
Certainly, I can see at a glance you're brainy.
Yeah.
You're intelligent.
Yeah.
You're brilliant.
Yeah.
Then why don't you sign?
I forget how to make a bee.
Well, maybe he'll remember next time in A College for Two or Rock and Rolls.
Once upon a time, many years ago, there was a man who, upon meeting a friend in the streets of the kingdom, said,
Achoo!
And his friend, knowing the proper thing to do, of course, said,
Gesundheit!
At exactly the same time, in a land far to the east, there was another man who also met a friend on the street, and he said,
Achoo!
His friend, too, knew the proper thing to say, for he replied,
Hello, Charlie. How's tricks?
Yes, R2 was his name. R2 had many friends. R2 had great wealth because R2 had the only Chinese restaurant in town that served salami pizza. R2 also had a fine son who greeted him one night with a question.
Honorable father, I should like to marry and settle down. May I have your worthy permission?
I must have time to think on such a heavy question. I shall give you my answer in the morning.
R2 was unable to sleep that night. He tossed and turned in his bed, fighting to make the decision. By sunup the following day, he had made up his mind and gave the answer to his son.
No.
My father wise as boiled owl, but can he give one reason why I cannot marry?
Yes.
And that all being?
To have a wife, one must have a house in which to put her.
Then, inexhaustible son, we'll find a house.
Wasting no time, the young man set off to do just that. He had not gone far when he came to a great river, and there, standing on the bank, he met an old man.
I must cross this river, young youth. Help me, and I shall tell you a secret of good fortune.
Knowing that a secret of good fortune could very well aid him in his quest, the lad agreed. But it was a rougher trip than what the aged one had expected. However, he kept his promise and told the young man the secret.
Yes. Oh, honorable, hooray! What a fine secret!
Following the old man's instructions, the boy hurried off into the forest, where he soon found a grove of lychee nut trees. Picking up one of the lychee nuts that had fallen to the ground, he cracked it open. And with a blinding flash, a fine house popped out. A short time later, he once again stood before his father.
No?
No.
What excuse to being this time? Excitable son has a fine house.
Yes, but there is still one thing you need before you can marry.
$1 to chicken fly lice, he say, a sweetie.
That thing is a sweetie.
You see? Honorable father, wait right here. Swift son, be right back.
Quickly returning to the grove of lychee nut trees, he selected the largest lychee nut he could find. Then, with a sharp rap, he cracked it open. And out popped the most beautiful maiden he'd ever seen.
Oh, hot diggy dog, what a being a sweetie if ever I see one.
This time R2 found no further objections and at last gave permission for his son to marry. The wedding was held and there was a great celebration. R2's son was now the happiest young man in the land, but it wasn't until after the wedding that he realized that his new wife seemed different somehow. For the first thing she did when he took her to his house was jump into a corner and stand on her head.
Big honorable pardon, but why is a former sweetie, present wife, a stand on head?
And she answered,
Why not?
Unable to think of a good reason, he let it go. It was some time later that the young man, while returning from the marketplace with his purse jingling with coins, met a robber. Oh, he knew it was a robber because the rogue wore a mask and very clearly said,
Stick 'em up!
Fearing for his life, the lad streaked for home with the robber in hot pursuit. Dashing into the house, he quickly told his wife,
Dishonorable bad guy after me. Oh, please, do not tell him. Frightened husband is hiding with money in cookie jar.
Go away, please. I cannot tell you that frightened husband is hiding with money in cookie jar.
Oh!
A short time later, the robber and the money were gone. His wife was again standing on her head in the corner, but he didn't bother to ask her why. Instead, he said,
It's very cold. I wish to warm myself. Please, cookie wife, start a fire.
She did. It was in the bedroom, and the house was burned to the ground. This was more than the boy could stand.
If I live to be 22, never again will I get a sweetie out of a lychee nut.
It was then that his wife did the strangest thing of all. She began to bake fortune cookies over a small open fire. What was so strange about it was that when he broke them open, there were real fortunes inside.
Oh, diamonds, rubies, gold, 1928 nickels, Wilkie buttons. I'm rich.
Yes, he was rich. And the more fortune cookies his wife baked, the richer he became. Of course, his wife still stood on her head from time to time, but the boy loved her, and he called her his bargain because she was 50% off. And they lived happily ever after.
time, you remember, the trustees of Wossamotta U were wondering how to keep their college from going bankrupt.
How about giving an honorary degree to Daddy Warbucks?
You ninny, he's only a make-believe character.
We're real?
In the end, of course, they followed the lead of so many other colleges. They decided to get a winning football team. As a result, 2 scouts are trying to sign a Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle, you know who these fellas are?
Pick and Pat?
No.
Gallagher and Sheen?
No.
Null and Void? Fair and Warmer?
No, they're scouts.
If they're scouts, let's see 'em rub 2 sticks together.
They're football scouts.
Then let's see 'em rub 2 footballs together.
Let's check the little old rule book, Edgar. Uh-oh.
Trouble?
Says here we can enroll anybody except a moose.
Let me say that. Oh, Chauncey, that doesn't say moose.
No?
That's mouse.
Hot diggity!
Come on, sign.
Okay.
X. Bullwinkle, you know how to spell your name.
Yeah, but I don't want to look like a show-off.
That's
Humble, that's me.
Yeah, but...
Mr. Modesty.
But...
when it comes to humility, I'm the greatest.
So I see.
And so it came to pass that a few days later, Bullwinkle Moose arrived on the campus of Wossamotta U.
It's like a beautiful dream, Rock. There must be a catch in it somewheres.
You sure you got everything, Bullwinkle?
Well, let's see. I'm wearing my bell-bottom trousers and 3-tone shoes.
Yeah.
I got my ukulele and my hair stickum.
Uh-huh. Do you have your textbooks?
Don't bother me with details, Rock.
Mr. Moose, I'm your counselor. Now, about your classes.
I just wear 'em to read.
No, your classes.
I gotta go to classes?
Of course.
I told you there was a catch in it somewheres.
Now, I'd suggest you take Introduction to Chemical Kinetics, Differential Calculus, and the History of the Peloponnesian Wars.
Take 'em, I can't even pronounce 'em.
Boy, they sound tough.
I'll never have time to play football.
Oh, you're a football player?
The Frostbite Falls Flash. Want to see my clippings?
From your last game?
No, from my last haircut.
It won't be necessary. You'll take the regular classes for an athletic scholarship.
Which are?
Personal grooming, crocheting, and reading modern classics.
That last one sounds tough. What modern classic do I have to read?
Dick and Jane at the Seashore.
Well, that's more like it.
I'm afraid so.
Well, how you making out, Flash?
Just dandy fool, Mr. Scout.
You know who this is?
Of course. The Scoutmaster.
No, this is our coach, Rocky Canute. Put it there, pal.
Oh, thanks a mill. It was getting mite heavy.
Maybe you better suit up, Moose.
In a few moments, Bullwinkle was attired in his very own football uniform.
Bullwinkle, you're barefoot.
Yeah, I like to feel my toes grip the earth. Besides, they didn't have any size 22s.
Well, let's see you throw one, Moose.
Throw a game already? I haven't even started practicing yet.
Not a game, a pass. Let's see you throw a forward pass.
Okay. How's this?
And Bullwinkle faded back, cocked his arm, and fired a forward pass that traveled a miserable 10 feet and fell to the ground.
How's that, Coach? Coach? Gee, where'd he go?
Over in a dead faint, that's where.
Well, is this the end of Bullwinkle's sports career? Be sure to see our next episode, The Hidden Ball Play, or Goal is Where You Find It.
Ah, there, poetry lovers. Today's poem is called The Bee. How doth the little busy bee improve each shining hour, and gather honey all the day from every open flower? How skillfully she builds her cell, how neat she spreads the wax, and labors hard to store it well with the sweet food she makes. Boy, that's good. Oh, hush. Uh-oh. Touchy, aren't they? Oh! In works of labor or of skill, I would be busy too. For Satan finds some mischief still for idle hands to do.
I'll give you a hint as to where we are going today, Sherman. What do I have in my hand?
A pitcher of water.
What do I have in my other hand?
A pitcher of Uncle Louie.
Correct. Now, I hold the pitcher over the picture. What am I going to do?
Looks like you're going to water Uncle Louie.
Almost, Sherman. We are going to Waterloo. For the historic battle, you know, in which Napoleon was defeated by Wellington. The year 1815, the place, Belgium. When we arrived, the three-day battle was reaching a climax. The French troops were below in a valley, and there on a hill to the north was Wellington's army, poised to attack.
What are they waiting for, Mr. Peabody?
The command to attack.
Who's supposed to give it?
Obviously not that horse. The eyes of every soldier were focused on a lone steed standing in front, riderless. From the insignia on the saddle, that horse belonged to the Duke of Wellington.
Well, where is he?
The answer came from a sergeant standing nearby.
We've been waiting for him for 3 days. He's the only one who can shout charge.
Did he receive orders to report to Waterloo?
I gave him to him myself before we left Blighty.
Then it's obvious what has happened. You see, there are 2 Waterloos. I instructed the sergeant to do nothing until we returned, and Sherman and I left for Waterloo, Denmark. And there we found the Duke of Wellington at Waterloo Hot Springs taking a mineral bath.
What a delightful way to spend a war. Hand me that bone, won't you?
Your pardon, your lordship, but what are you doing?
My orders were to come to Waterloo and take bone apart. So far, I've taken 4 bones apart.
But Mr. Wellington, I mean your dukeship. You're at the wrong Waterloo.
We explained the error and urged that he return to the scene of the actual battle.
Get my carriage immediately.
Moments later, we were rolling back toward Belgium, or so we thought.
Gee, Mr. Peabody, look out the window. I didn't know there was an Eiffel Tower in Belgium.
There isn't. Driver!
Oui, monsieur.
I was answered by a French accent holding a French pistol.
What does this mean, Mr. Peabody?
It means we are being duke-napped. The carriage didn't come to a stop until we reached the Louvre Museum. At gunpoint, we were forced into a large room containing famous paintings. The door was locked securely and a guard stationed outside.
Charge!
Not yet, your lordship. I'll tell you when. It was indeed a stroke of luck that we had been placed in that particular room, for the paintings on the wall gave me an idea. I rapped on the door, it opened, and the guard entered.
Sacré bleu, they are guns!
So he thought. In reality, we had taken positions in a large picture frame, Sherman and I posing as Whistler and his dog, and Wellington as Blue Boy.
After them!
The way was clear, and we quickly made our departure. Once out in the street, we stopped to catch our breath. And so did a squad of guards who had just turned the corner.
Look, a man, a boy, and a bow-wow.
Quick, Sherman, pick up that stick, yell, fetch, and throw it. Sherman complied.
Fetch, Mr. Peabody!
I ran after the stick, picked it up, then I too yelled, fetch, and threw it. This time Wellington retrieved it, yelled,
fetch,
and threw it. It was Sherman's turn, and in such a manner we fetched our way out of danger.
Very fetching.
On the outskirts of Paris, we looked for a conveyance that would enable us to get to our destination. The only thing we saw was a hay wagon.
Shall we get aboard, Mr. Peabody?
Yes, we'd best make hay while the sun shines. Sherman took the reins while the Duke and myself sought concealment in the hay. We were making good time until we reached the Belgian border, and there we were stopped by French sentries. It was a terrible time for the Duke to come down with an attack of hay fever.
Spies! After them!
Sherman urged our horses onward while the sentries set off in pursuit on sleek, speedy chargers.
They're gaining on us, Mr. Peabody. We'll never outrun them.
Then we must slow them down. How are you at pitching hay, your lordship? Well, it wasn't very good, but all that mattered was that we left a trail of hay behind us, and the aforementioned sleek, speedy chargers, unable to resist their favorite fodder, gorged themselves.
This is no time to stop and eat. Giddy up!
But an army travels on its stomach, and so do sleek, speedy chargers. 2 hours later, we were at the front, and Wellington was astride his mount.
We made it. Now all he has to do is sound the charge.
But it seemed the poor Duke was so unnerved by the recent events, he was speechless.
If he won't speak, the army won't charge.
Then he will speak. Your lordship, I have just received word that your house in England has new wall-to-wall carpeting. How do you want it fastened to the floor? With glue or with a tack?
Attack!
That was the word we were waiting for.
Well, there he goes, Mr. Peabody. What a great soldier.
Not only that, Sherman, but after the war, he became a great playwright under the name of Arthur Wellington.
Arthur Wellington, a playwright?
Of course. You hear his name mentioned in theaters all over the world. At the conclusion of every play, the audience rises, applauds, and shouts, Arthur! Arthur!
Bullwinkle's career as a football player had quite a setback last time when Coach Canute said,
Well, Moose, do you think you can pass?
I don't know. I'll study hard.
No, I mean a forward pass.
Oh, that. Sure. How's this?
And Bullwinkle lofted a forward pass that didn't travel more than 10 feet.
That's a forward pass.
It went forward, didn't it?
Turn in your suit, Moose.
No, wait. I think I know what's wrong, Coach. Let me send her the ball.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hut!
Now, Bullwinkle. Ellie!
Well, it was the alley-oop that did it. The football zoomed into the air, down the field, over the goalpost, out of the stadium, and across the campus toward the administration building.
Now, Chancellor, this here stadium will cost you only $7 million, and we can start building on...
A lot of money, Mr. Herdlicker. I don't think we... What's that?
It's a football.
How did it get here?
Offhand, I'd say it was thrown here by your new fullback.
Well, don't just stand there, Herdlicker. Build something.
And immediately, work started on a brand new stadium for Wossamotta U. While on the practice field, Bullwinkle and Rocky worked out with the rest of the team.
Ollie!
Oops!
I got it.
Gee, not so hard, Bullwinkle. That's the third pass receiver we've lost today.
We don't lose him, Rock. They pick him up in the next county.
But passing wasn't Bullwinkle's only football talent. When he put his head down and charged, he could take out one whole side of the opposing line.
That's what I like, a player who uses his head.
It's also good for hanging hats on.
Came time for Wossamotta U's first game with the Watchmakers Technical Institute.
Or as it is known, tick-tock-tick.
It wasn't a game. It was a slaughter.
Ellie!
Ooh!
Ding! Ellie!
Ooh!
Ding!
A minute before the end of the game, with Wossamotta U leading 66-0, Coach Canute took Bullwinkle out. Immediately, things were different. In the next 60 seconds, Tick-Tock-Tech scored 60 points. But then the final gun sounded. Well, a big upset like that didn't go unnoticed.
Wow! Look what the newspapers say about the game, Rock.
I don't see anything.
Look down here. Wossamotta 66, tick-tock 60.
The type's too small for me to read.
But as the season progressed, the headlines got bigger and bigger.
Wossamotta U, 90. Barely normal, 0.
Wossamotta 89, Purdy Polly 0.
Wossamotta 150. DuQuoin's Grammar School 0?
Little mix-up in the schedule there.
Wossamotta was the only team in the nation which was undefeated and untied.
Not untied, we're just a little loose is all.
But on television, every silver lining has a dark cloud, and our show is no different. For in a downtown bat cave in a large city, some professional gamblers were posting betting odds on next week's game.
Oh, boy. You see the odds on Wossamotta U? 200 to 1.
Incredible.
Well, Natasha, this is it. This is the time for me to turn over a new leaf.
What?
You know how I am, honey bun. Always destroying things, wrecking them, smashing them up.
Yes.
Well, now I'm going to do just the opposite of breaking things.
You mean?
Yes, I'm going to fix a game.
And he's just the fixer to do it, too. Oh, don't fail to see Wager at Dawn or Early to Bet.
Hello there. Today's poem is called...
Hey, Moose, how come you always read poetry?
Well, it's my part of the
You
show.
think you are the only one with soul?
You want to read a poem?
Certainly. Today's poem got the title, How to Be Happy Though Miserable.
But...
Are you almost disgusted with life, little man?
But...
I'll tell you a wonderful trick. That brings you contentment, if anything can.
Give me...
Do something to somebody quick.
Oh!
Though it rains like the rain of the flood, little man, and the clouds are forbidding and thick, you can make the sun shine on your soul, little man. Do something to somebody quick.
Oops! But you got the words wrong. It says do something for somebody, not to them.
Well, after all, in poetry is not the word so much, it's the thought that counts.